definitely very helpful for me. Hare Krishna. Um, okay, so before we start, um, let me let me set some expectations about what I uh, hope this will do. I'm only going to cover a very small part of the book because there's a lot here, and but the even this beginning section was quite impactful for me. So I've been hearing for a long time, and whenever we hear Krishna Katha, is always nourishing in some way. We, it reinforces certain, even if it's not very well presented, even if it is, the speaker is not good or doesn't have much realization or it's not very good at presenting things. Krishna Katha is always very beneficial, and there is, you it strengthens our faith. It reminds us of some things when we need to be reminded. It engages us fruitfully. But then there are some classes that you hear, and they are like completely um, transformative. It's like with those light bulb classes where you suddenly a new dimension of spirituality opens up for you. And in my own experience, this happened quite frequently for me in the beginning when things are new and you learn about bhakti and you learn about how we can understand the Supreme Lord in a scientific fashion. How faith doesn't have to be dogmatic, how there are devotees who are even more important in our approach to God and the different kind of relationships that exist. There's so many new things that you learn, and I remember almost every week was like a new revelation, and you learn something very amazing, and it completely opens up your vision for life and the way you see things and understand things. And and over time, this happens less and less frequently. Sometimes in the beginning, it's like almost every other day or every week, and then maybe every month or 3 months, and eventually maybe once a year you may hear something which completely transforms your conception and your the way you see things. And then for me, for like many years, I felt like, okay, now I know things. Now I know, I've heard so many classes, I've read so much, and I understand everything. And most of the classes were more of reinforcements and reminding rather than something new. And then the last 2 or 3 years, something happened, and suddenly it was like I'm back in that phase where s- I'm realizing I'm seeing these new dimensions to life, to bhakti that I never knew. I mean, once you hear them, it's there in front of you and you always see them. But it was that is amazing how, almost um, and I especially see that most of those were coming from Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj classes. Almost every class, if I'm paying attention, there will be that light bulb moment in that. And I'm experiencing the same thing with this book, Healing Prayers. I wish I read it many times. I do need to read it more, and I'm grateful for this opportunity for trying to present it. Because as actually Maharaj also says, generally in these kinds of things, the person who's presenting is the one who benefits the most because I get to prepare and read more carefully. And certainly this reading, I saw some things I haven't seen before, and some of them were actually more relevant now than the first time I read it. So I'm hoping maybe I'm only been a part of it, but hopefully, at least some of us may get a similar experience. And for that, I need all of your blessings. The I think almost everybody here is, if not by age and experience, definitely in their commitment to devotional service, to serving the congregation, the devotees, their commitment to the practice of bhakti. Almost many of you are already initiated and made, accepted the service of your spiritual masters. So I seek all your blessings to make this successful in terms of bringing about the transformation that Bhakti Vigan Maharaj is trying to develop through this book. So my prayers to Srila Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, to Raghunath Das Goswami, Gopal Bhattacharya, or Mahaprabhu, or Narottam Das Thakur, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. They're like, we are so fortunate. We have so many glorious acharyas in our parampara. I seek all their blessings to let these things go deeper in my own heart, and see if we can have some of that experience tonight. So let's start. So in the beginning, Mara says that, what this book is about. This book is about love, and actually, so this book, for those who don't know, is basically the context of this book was, um, Maharaj was speaking this to a set of devotees. I think he was giving a seminar to a set of devotees who, just after the Ukraine war, where people were feeling very, it's a very challenging situation for many, many devotees. And there is, and we'll talk a little bit about that later in this presentation, not about the war, but about challenging situations. And whenever we have those challenging situations, there's a natural question about, why does this happen, and how do we um, make progress from here, and so on. So there's in the forward, Mahatmananda Prabhu discusses how in Srila Prabhupada's life, when things were very challenging and difficult, one of the things he always requested was to be recited the prayers of Queen Kunti. And this book is coming from the seminar that Maharaj gave, that focused on the prayers of Queen Kunti within that context of bringing about a healing, with the idea of healing being to become whole. And that is, that becomes more and more clear as we progress in the book. The book is basically a seminar based on the prayers of Queen Kunti, which, as we know, appears in the 8th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we say the book is about love. In a way, Srimad Bhagavatam is about that. It is about uh, reestablishing our loving connection with the Supreme Whole. And in that connection with the Supreme Whole, we achieve that healing, we achieve that completeness that we are lacking. Ma discusses how actual love is not cheap. It's something I've heard in other classes too. He says that they're often especially in a movement like ours, which has this missionary spirit, we have a lot of encouraging statements that, we quote how Prabhupada says that if you just chant 16 rounds and follow the four regulative principles, you'll go back to Godhead. And then there are the many statements, and if you just attend Mangal Arati every day, you're going back to you definitely achieving Vrindavan. There's so many statements like this, which makes, if you just chant the holy name once, all your sins are gone, and you achieve Krishna prema. So which sometimes give the impression, and not just here, even outside of Krishna consciousness, there is a lot of discussion and talk about love, but actual love is not a very cheap thing. And as we know, what we are trying to cultivate in this movement is the there's something very, very high beyond liberation, beyond even uh, love in awe and reverence. It's a very confidential relationship with the Supreme Lord that Mahaprabhu and his followers are granting us. So it's something very, very high. And when we're looking for something very, very high, we have to be willing to pay that high price. And this price is not in terms of impressive austerities or accomplishments, like, how many books are distributed, how many temples, how many followers, how many people attended the program, and so on. So what is that high price? Um, that price is in terms of this profound inner transformation, turning our attention from the world outside to the source inside. And we've heard this, from becoming a servant to an enjoyer. Um, but what does it mean, and why is that so difficult and so hard? What is the hard part about it? And I think that's the thing we want to try and capture in this section, about what exactly is the practice of bhakti, and what exactly is this cultivation of love. What is the challenging part of it? um, Nathalie, I've heard of a good um, a good class should make us feel a little uncomfortable. It should make us feel a little, not in the sense of disturb us, but in the sense of, wake us up. At the same time, be very encouraging. Give us promise of that. Yes, this is something I really want to do, but it's something that's gonna um, be. It should challenge us at the same time. Uh, and I really like this. Maharaj talked about that. Sometimes people say that, bhakti, jnana and karma, yes, these are challenging, difficult. Bhakti is easy, it's for just women and shudras. And it's that we actually agree that bhakti is for women and shudras, because, shudra is about service attitude, and bhakti is about service attitude. And bhakti is for women because our constitutional position, we all have the feminine nature. So he kind of embraces this criticism very, very nicely. Um, uh, but the idea here is that that true love cannot tolerate the slightest alloy of selfishness. There cannot be any pride. It, it cannot take a very high position, or a high position, and we cannot enter into bhakti with that kind of an a heart. So this genuine selflessness and humility, that is what makes it difficult and challenging, to actually be humble, to actually have that transformation of the ego, of being a servant and not being the enjoyer. And then, as I said, to heal is to unite with the complete whole. So I talked a little bit about this before, but actually, this is a very important point. Oops. Are you still seeing the slides? When we have challenging situations in life, a natural question comes up, why is this happening? And we can give an answer. This is happening by God's will. And I think this is an important part. So when we say it happens by God will, there is, anybody can say that, yes, this happened because God wanted it to happen. But there's a very significant difference in with what that means for us. And we have a very deliberate choice to make here. We can do it, we can say it's by God's will either with spite, or we can say it with love. Um, and spite means that when something is happening, we say, okay, God did this to me. So there is some rejection of his will, and there is some accusation of him. There's some complaint, either externally, or it may not be externally, because we know it should not do it externally. It may be more internal, some reservation in our heart. But accepting God's will with love, that's completely different. This is where we understand uh, His will, we trust that whatever He's doing is good for us, and we actually feel a deep gratitude towards Him. And this is what we see in Queen Kunti's prayer, that when those challenges come in our life, it actually draws her closer to Krishna. She becomes even more grateful to Krishna. And and that's that's a very different internal attitude to the challenge. It's not just something that she's not just praying to Krishna to be saved from the difficulty. And actually, we may come to this again later. There's an actual sense of gratitude in that difficulty. And that's what we want to learn from these prayers. How is it? What is that? Uh, but it's a choice that one has to make, uh, where one actually feels sees how Krishna is all powerful and how he's the one who's doing this, and how that is actually a a a loving exchange with him, how it is bringing us closer to him. So that's what makes Queen Kunti's prayer so wonderful and relevant. So, if there are any questions or any points of discussions, please let me know, because I'm not sure what speed I'm going at, if it's too fast, too slow. So please feel free to interrupt me. Feel good to get some sense of how we are doing and what is making sense or not. So the next section is, why are there so many prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam? And this is a very common and universal experience. Especially when first time we're reading Bhagavatam, we see it's just littered with prayers all across. And the very common experience is that they seem repetitive. They seem to be saying the similar things, and one tends to. I've heard it from others who have read more about. I haven't read Bhagavatam as much as many others. I work with what others have said, but even in my experience, I see that the prayers seem like something you quickly. Um, go over to get to the more juicy parts, where there is storyline or maybe even philosophy, but um, and you wonder why is this, because there are many prayers all throughout Bhagavatam. So I want to discuss it from three aspects. One is the Sambandha Bhedya Prayojan view to why the prayers are there. So one is that the purpose of Bhagavatam itself is exclusive glorification of Krishna. That's what Narada told Vyasadeva, why you should write Bhagavatam. This is the literature where you should exclusively glorify Krishna, not mixed with anything else. And different devotees, when they are with Krishna in just different forms, they're getting a direct experience of the Supreme Absolute. And so through their prayers, they are giving us these different facets of who the Supreme Lord is. So that's one reason why prayers are there, because there's this interesting thing where Krishna talks about how Krishna only is worthy of praise. So when they are uh, appreciating Krishna, when they are glorifying Krishna, it is very different from glorifying someone who is not Krishna, because anybody else, there's actually a verse in Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam 11.28.1, that one should neither praise nor criticize the condition, nature, and activities of other persons. Because for anybody else, whatever they achieve or accomplish, or whatever qualities they have, it is influenced in so many ways from others, from family, their parents, their teachers, the society, the all kinds of things are supporting and manifesting them. So when we experience that, when there is too much glorification of anyone, of ourselves or others, is a certain embarrassment and a certain thing which doesn't seem quite proper. Um, but for Krishna, he is Swarat Tattva. He is supremely independent. He is not dependent on anybody else. So what we're glorifying in him is truly him. It's not somebody else that is being glorified, and or that glorification is artificially being proposed to him. So Krishna alone is worthy of praise. And these prayers, they basically reveal those different beautiful qualities of Krishna in Bhagavatam. So that is, they reveal this Sambandha, who Krishna is. And Abhidya prayers always contain some request. So what is it that we should pray for when we are with Krishna? That is what we learn from all these prayers. Generally, our prayers, or generally when one prays to God, the conception is that we ask Him for something. And all prayers do contain requests, but what is it that we're praying for? And Maharaj discusses how that one who asks God only for happiness is like a child who constantly demands candy from a parent. I want this and that. This is that is not going to actually satisfy us. That's not where the growth comes in. Is there somebody's trying to say anything? Okay. So we see in Queen Kunti's, she praying for difficulties to see God's mercy. Um, and because that is what brings us closer to Him. So that is Abhidya. What is it that we should pray for? So the prayers teaching us who Krishna is and how we should connect with Him. What is it that we should pray for? And then there is Prayojana. The the prayers, they reflect the feelings of these devotees. So all the prayers, they're imbued with the feelings that the devotees are experiencing. And what is that connection look like? What is the result of this, the experience that they're going through? So this is Sambandhamita Prayoja of what the prayers and Bhagavatam is giving. But what exactly is a prayer? And so what does it mean to pray? Now, there is something, the spontaneous prayers. So if some difficulty happens, somebody will say, save me or protect me, and so on. These are like spontaneous emotions that may appear in our heart. They may be very fervent, very genuine. But that is not what we're talking about when we talk about Vandanam or the practice of prayer. So we know Vandanam is one of the 9 processes of devotional services. But that Vandanam actually is a little advanced. To get into Vandanam, one first have to practice Shravanam, Kirtanam, even Smaranam. Some cleansing needs to happen to actually get into Vandanam. So that Vandanam is not it's not so easy. Um, and so this Luke 1.1, 11.1 actually is not from the book. That's something I remembered when I was reading this section, that when we lack that connection with Krishna, when we lack that love, we actually find it very difficult to pray sincerely. Our prayers are seldom genuine or fervent because as I say, our hearts are close to God. I remember this place where Jesus, he goes out to pray, and when he comes back, his disciples are so um, uh, moved by the intensity of his prayers, and then they ask him, Lord, teach us to pray. Just as John taught his disciples. But this, and when I heard this, Lord, teach us to pray, it's kind of made me think, oh, what does it mean, teach us to pray? Because and then in Bible it goes on. Jesus gave them, okay, this is the prayer, and you pray that. But the idea is it's not so easy to actually pray. Um, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about why this is so. Uh, so what is that true prayer? What does that look like? And that again can be analyzed from this Sambandha Vidya Prayojana aspect, but in a different way. So in a genuine prayer, there's a conscious awareness. So in the first one, like the spontaneous prayers that comes, save me, protect me, I still am at the center. It's still about me or my needs. Um, but in a genuine prayer, the kind of prayers that Queen Kunti has, or what we see in Bhagavatam, or what this book is talking about, is a conscious awareness with Krishna at the center, and we and our connection with him. So there's that sambandha, and it's a conscious thing. It's not a spontaneous thing that happens. It's almost like a meditation that one has. And then there is um, this is what makes it difficult, because there's this feeling of this helplessness and dependence on God. So the true prayer, I actually say this, true prayer begins with this renunciation of independence, which is very difficult. So the word abhidaya means, the meaning of the word abhidaya is actually meaning. So generally we think about abhidaya as what is the process. Sambandha is what is the relationship, and abhidaya is what do we do. The word abhidaya means meaning, and the reason we generally talk about the process is because once you understand who is who, once we understand, okay, I am servant, Krishna is God, he is the enjoyer, I'm the enjoyed, and we understand what Prakriti is and so on. What does it mean? It means that this is what we should do. So the the abhidaya of a true prayer is to grasp this meaning of our existence, to give it, one gives up one's own conception of right and wrong and calls out to Krishna. There's an expression of a helplessness and dependence on him. So there's the prayojana, the result is that, let's see, let me just read this quote first. One should not therefore look for help from imperfect living beings. Okay, this is very interesting. From living beings or demigods, but one should look for all help from Krishna, who is competent to save his devotees. Such a chaste devotee also never asks the Lord for help, but the Lord, out of his own accord, is always anxious to render it. So, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.18.17, this is a quote from Prabhupada's purport, where Prabhupada says this, that one should not look for help, but one should go to Krishna for all help. And then he says that a chaste devotee, he never asks Krishna, he asks the Lord for help. But the Lord, out of his own accord, is always anxious to render. So there seems to be a contradiction here. On the one hand, we should go to Krishna for help, but a devotee never really asks the Lord for help. So what does that mean? What is Prabhupada contradicting? Is what is he actually saying here? Amma explains that actually the devotee is not asking the Lord for help. The devotee sees that Krishna is the one who is already helping me, is the one who's already providing for me. So he doesn't need to go to anybody else. He's always seeing that I'm actually maintained by Krishna. So his prayers, when he's turning to Krishna, it's not that he's turning to Krishna because he needs something from Krishna. He's turning to Krishna as a acknowledgement, declaration, as a reflection of how he is the one who's actually protecting me and maintaining me. Um, so there is this gratitude and love that his prayers are imbued with. And so 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 the genuine prayer and actual prayer is uh, we said it's almost like a meditation. It's something that comes, that state of prayer is something that comes from that experiences across lifetime, how Krishna has been protecting me, has been maintaining me, and that's where his that's how he sees things. There is this quote. Um, yeah, this is bad quote from the book. Ramana says their entire life should gradually become a prayer. Krishna answers the prayers of those devotees who turn to him not just in trouble, but remember him every moment, confiding all thoughts and actions to him. That is a true prayer. So the prayer is something, uh, it's like a gift. Queen Kunti paid for her prayers with her entire life. So I love this that there is a it's almost like a reward for or I won't say reward. It's not something cheap. It's something that says how this Vandanam is not, it's not easy. It's it is one's transforming one's life to be a prayer.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
I just have a small question here.
Mhm.
Um, so sometimes the same quote can also be taken very cheaply because for some people, so remembering Krishna every moment is
Mhm.
also kind of easy in the sense that, oh, they're always talking to Krishna. But is that actually remembering Krishna? Because that can lead to Sahajism. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on this uh, because it can easily be misled into thinking that, oh, I'm always talking to Krishna, I'm always remembering Krishna. Does that mean that I'm always, it's a prayer moment by moment? I don't know if my question is clear.
Um, so I think this is more a matter of an internal state rather than a claim that one is making. Um, so the way I understand Sahajiyas is, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this. My understanding is that they're not, if one claims that I'm talking to Krishna, but actually he's not, um, that seems to be like a pretense. Is that what you're talking about? Or talking about that they
I'm
actually
talking,
do believe that they are talking to Krishna?
no, they do believe, but they take
I
Krishna very
see.
cheaply. That's the point here. So Krishna very cheaply in the sense that, oh, Krishna is so accessible. I mean, of course, Krishna is accessible, but to remember him every moment, it requires some effort. If you go back to your slides, you did mention that it does take effort. I
Yeah,
think it was the first slide, maybe the one more back. But by the way, I'm really loving every slide. Maybe one more back. Sorry. You did mention somewhere that this path you have to put a lot of effort.
this one, actual love is not
Yeah,
cheap.
actual love is not cheap. And if you want something very, very high, you must be willing to pay the price. So it's not something that, unless you go really deep and really pray, really try to remember Krishna and really connect to Krishna deep within your heart. It's not something. So many times, what I mean by cheap is
Yeah, yeah.
like what happens in this world. Like I'm talking to somebody. So Krishna is also that cheap. Like I can do that with Krishna all the time. So that's what I was getting to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is not something that you can decide to do and just do. It's not like, oh, I should talk to Krishna every time, every moment. It's not. And I think this may become clear a little bit later. The what is it that's blocking our accessing Krishna? And when we remove those blocks, when we actually connect with him, then we can feel his presence moment to moment. That's where let me go through maybe the next part, which is the three kinds of prayers, and then it may become clearer. And actually, in the third kind of prayer, I'm going to talk about a little about this. You know, a cheap jumping over to that those confidential sahajiya kind of tendencies. And then maybe we can come back and revisit this. Is that all right?
Yeah, totally fine, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Okay. So Hamad then discusses that there are these three kinds of prayers. I think it is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I'm not sure. He does mention that, but I forgot.
Yes, it is.
Uh,
It is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Yes, Rupa Goswami.
okay. Okay, so which corresponds to these three different stages of spiritual journey. So the first stage is from Shraddha to Anartha. The second stage is up to Ruchi, and the third stage is up to attainment of Hama. So corresponding to these three stages, there are these three different kinds of prayers. The first kind is Samprarthnatmika. So so what is it? And I'll kind of maybe just go through reading some of these things. Some of these are, I think most of these are direct quotes from the book. I may have rephrased some things in between, but most of it is a direct quote. So, what is Sampratnatmika? This is the one which is most relevant for most of us who have not yet reached the Nishtha stage. Um, the beyond Nishtha is when you go to the next stage, Danyabodh. And then so Maharaj spends a lot of time on this. And in fact, Queen Kunti's prayer comes into this category, Sampratnatmika. And we're going to talk about the other two categories, but the whole book is really focused on this part, uh, or on this, on what's required for people in this stage who are, and how this is how what we can practice in our prayers, or the kind of prayers we can practice. So what is sampradaya? It's most important for us to understand. So from a heart that has realized its indifference and disconnection from God, this painful truth is a starting point. So the main thing is to see that I want something. Oh, actually, there's a very nice prayer by Sachinandan Maharaj, which I forgot to include in the slide. I have it with me. I'll maybe just read it out. Um, it is in the living name, which I think really captures this mood. So um, the it is coming from a place of realization that I do not actually care about God. I need him only to serve our interest. So we put what we want to obtain from God above himself, above God himself. This is exactly like Duryodhana, who wants Krishna's army, but not, he doesn't want Krishna, not interested in Krishna, he's interested in Krishna's army. It is not that God, it's not God what that matters, but what he can give. We do not need him on his own. And I think this is something which at this stage one has to really come to terms with. That actually, when I look within and I go beyond the surface, turns out that I don't really want Krishna. I want something else. And as one realizes and as one comes to terms with that, um, you know, um, as well, I say this painful truth, this hard truth, that's where the Sampratnika prayers can begin. Unless one recognizes that, unless one recognizes this abyss between what I want and and Krishna. There's a big difference between where my investment of my consciousness, my longings are, and where Krishna is. I don't really want Krishna. I want something from Krishna. And it may not be obvious. Uh,
Krishna
yes,
Prabhu
Krishna
has a
Prabhu.
question. Krishna Prabhu has a question.
Krishna Prabhu,
Uh,
yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, uh, what about when we ask Krishna for
Mhm.
um, increasing our love for him?
Mhm.
Isn't that also a want that we express? And who will we express that to if we don't express it to Krishna?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even things that we want otherwise, even the things that we want, for our whatever, we should still express them to Krishna, still want them from Krishna. It's that's not the uh, it's not wrong to be wanting things from Krishna, right? Um, but it's a different thing to want Krishna himself, and to realize the difference between the two brings us to the place of making those prayers that Krishna, I do not have that attraction for you. I do not have that love for you, and I want that. I want to want you. And so that's what I'm praying to Krishna, that please remove this duplicity from my heart. Please remove this, let me maybe just read
I
that.
think I think I'm getting it. Yeah, yeah. I think
Krishna Prabhu, just to add to that point, so that comes as Lalasamai, so desiring more love for Krishna, desiring a more perfectional stage, and that's totally bona fide. So I don't know, maybe Manan Prabhu is going to cover that as well, but
Yeah.
but I am also hearing something a little maybe that was the root of my question, but I'm also hearing from Manan Prabhu's answer. Manan Prabhu, I'm just going to reflect it back to you.
Yes, Prabhu.
Please let me know if I'm in the right
Yes, Prabhu.
direction. That it's absolutely okay to have material desires, and maybe we are hoping for good health or a job or something like that, which are at the very beginning phases, and And also we also realize that the giver of all these is Krishna, but we also, while we are requesting all this from Krishna, we also realize that we don't have this genuine love for Krishna, and we see this gap between where our desires are today
Yeah.
and where our desires need to be, and then yearning for to fill that gap. Is that true
Yeah,
prayer?
yeah. I mean, that's how I understand it. There's some Pratnika is I really, I have so many other desires, and I have to first come to terms with this and accept it that yes, I have those things, and I cannot just declare that do not want this or let me not have them. The heart wants what he wants. Actually, I removed that line, but that's another thing that Mara says. Heart wants what our right now our approach to Krishna is a little bit intellectual. It's not in the heart, and I want my heart to be there, and that's what I'm praying for. Krishna, when will I want you? Ritesh, bro, you want to add something?
Yeah, I have one more question
Oh,
similar to this. Um, are you able to hear?
yes, bro.
Yeah. So let's say we are not wanting for ourselves, but let's say a mother wanting for their child.
Hmm.
How would that prayer go? Like, what would be like? Of course, we can want anything, but let's say a mother wants good health for the child, or good upbringing for the child, or good association when they go out, or anything. So how
Yeah.
would that prayer go? Is it still material, or how could we still make it not just material, but actually where we can put love and serve here towards love, God, towards Krishna?
Yeah, I mean, for a mother praying for her own child, um, depends on her, so first of all, I don't want to call it material or spiritual in that sense. It's, her connection with her child could have some aspect of a bodily conception. So to the degree that there is a bodily conception, it is this is in a way this is what Queen Kunti is praying, right? Where she, on the one hand, she has these desires for Vrishnis and for her Pandavas, because she feels some connection with them, and she wants Krishna to stay in Hastinapur because she wants the protection of Krishna for her sons Pandavas, but she also wants them to go to Dwarka and Vrishni. She's like, "Don't, Krishna, I, you know, I still have this affection for them, and how when will my this is what Gaurav Prabhu quoted in his presentation last time. When will my affection for you become completely unobstructed and flow freely towards you? Please sever these ties of affection from my heart so that I completely there's nothing between my wanting to you. I still have these other wants." Um, and But a devotee could also see, like Uttara was coming to Krishna to protect Parikshit Maharaj. He said, even if this Brahmastra completely kills me, let Parikshit Maharaj be protected. Or when my another example that comes to my mind is when the cowherd men, or the cowherd, when there's this Indra is bringing this torrential, this devastating rains, they come and they say, please protect your cows. Um, because they're not seeing their cows as their cows. They're seeing this is Krishna's cows. So a mother, you know, who has that connection with Krishna will see that this is Krishna's child. This is my service to Krishna. Krishna has sent this person to me. I have to protect him. His health is not good. I have to serve him. Krishna, how do I serve him? Please give me the right intelligence how to serve him. Um, so whether it has a bodily conception or not depends upon the kind of relationship that is there. It's very difficult to say from the content of the prayer itself. And most of these things that we're talking about is more about, I think, a reflection within our own heart and seeing, like Kun Quint is saying, there's nothing wrong in praying for her own sons, right? Because nobody else can fault her for it. One has to reflect within our own heart and see where is it, with what conception am I going there? Is it, where is my connection with Krishna? And it's just the desire the devotee has that I actually want that completely full connection with Lord. I do not want to have this separatist view of seeing somebody as mine and somebody else. Because when you have that full connection with Krishna, you see everybody as yours. It's that very famous in Vasudeva Kutumbam. You don't see, okay, my versus not mine. Um, um, you just see this is all Krishna's. Now somebody may be given by Krishna specifically to me to take care of, and therefore it's my specific service to Krishna, and I may definitely want to focus on that. I think I'm going a little bit off topic here, and I feel like I'm speaking too much also. There are others who could probably better answer this. Anybody else want to
It
address
makes
this?
sense, Prabhu. So what I'm hearing from you is, of course, prayers is a hard thing. We can't write down a prayer for someone who wants to do it. But then, for as a sadhaka, what we can learn is, of course, when a child is sick, we would ask for their health. But in general, we can always see them as Krishna's child and um, basically pray on how to basically bring them up so that they can serve in the world and be Krishna's instrument.
I mean,
Yeah,
the only thing I'll hesitate here is I won't say we should see him as Krishna's child,
yeah, he's
because this
Krishna's.
will become an
Yeah,
intellectual exercise, right? It's
yeah,
not I should, he is Krishna's child. It's just that my vision, I may have a bodily conception, I may not see it. And if I don't see it, I should just be comfortable with that. Comfortable in the sense that I have to first of all recognize that I have some bodily conception here, or I have some me in mind, because only then I can do this Sampratnatmika prayers. If I just do an intellectual shift, okay, this is Krishna's child, I will not come to this stage of Sampratnatmika. I will not realize that actually my heart is there. I'm kind of, I'll rationalize my attachment to my child by saying, okay, this is Krishna's child, I should take care of him.
yeah,
And therefore, this is a more of a individual, or a more of a introspective self-analysis, self-reflection, and recognizing where my heart really is. Um, does that make sense?
yes, definitely. Thank you, Prabhu.
Jagannath Prabhu wants to add.
Just for Krishnan Prabhu's question, that even when we ask Krishna for wanting something, yes, I mean, the reason I put those quotes in the chat is to just mention the point that we can't escape desire. Desire is innate to us, and what I understood from the Samprarthanatmika prayers, the attitude of Samprarthanatmika is that we have this, we come to sort of an understanding that my desire was for these temporary things for myself, which are God's resources, which are Krishna's resources, but then I need to want, what my actual need is to want Krishna. So in that sense, wanting Krishna is not is wanting of a different category, is of a spiritual category. So when we see the distinction and make an effort to shift our wanting towards Krishna, that is Samprarthanatmika. I might be wrong here, but yeah. Basically, what I want to say is wanting Krishna is not wanting of the same category as wanting anything else for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Is this visible? I'm not sure how to zoom into
Yes,
this.
bro. Yeah.
So okay. The living name, is that what you're seeing on the screen now?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to read through this poem. I really like this one. And I think it captures this essence of Sampratnika for me. This is a poem by Sachindan Maharaj. It says, when will I feel your name pulsating with life like a young bird in my open palms? When will your name taste like yogurt and ice cream on my thirsty tongue, which is exhausted by the taste of this world? Especially like this last paragraph. When will I stop offering you broken repetitions of your names because my love is still divided between you and the world? So I think this is this recognition that my love is still divided. I want Krishna, but I also want other things, and I want to only want Krishna. So that's what one is praying for in some pratnika. It's a prayer like this. Or another example I can think about is this Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti verse from Shikshashtaka. That's Maha doesn't refer to that here, but to me that also feels like some pratnika mood. And maybe other devotees can share other prayers in that mood. Uh, Definitely Queen Kunti's prayers are in that mood. Um, any anybody, anything which comes to you, which strikes you in that mood, please do share.
Even Prahlad Maharaj, who is praying that I am born in an Asura family, but you still had mercy on me. Oh wait, hold on. That is Dainya Modika. Dainya Bodhika. Sorry. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are prayers for removing ties, for removing that duality of the heart. And I want, please bring my attraction to you. So this is one, I think Maharaj probably composed this because he doesn't have a reference for this. I think maybe he just composed this. Please heal me, restore my entirety. I'm tired of feeling split. I understand that I'm spiritual by nature, but I'm divided into matter and spirit. A part of me wants to relish material enjoyment while the other part yearns for you, oh Krishna. You're all attractive. The only person you don't attract is me. Give me the chance. Gift me the chance to be captivated by your beauty. I think this captures the mood of some Pratnika prayers. And
I
this
also,
is
sorry,
yes,
sorry,
go ahead.
Prabhu. I also feel that Draupadi's prayers also
I don't
uh,
know what those prayers are.
fall in this category, but I could be wrong. Especially when she says,
Where are, as in Bhagavatam?
sorry, in the
The,
Mahabharata, from the Mahabharata.
from Mahabharata, I see.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with those prayers, bro. Well, do you want to share what those are?
So when she was feeling dishonored in the Kuru assembly,
Mhm.
she at first tried to protect herself,
Mhm. Mhm.
then appealed to elders,
Yeah,
then she raised both hands and she
yeah.
cried. So
Mhm.
that is where I feel that it falls in this category, where she
I see.
eventually cried out, "Hey Govinda, Hey Krishna, Hey Dwarkadisha," like that.
I see.
Anyway, so
Yeah,
Gajendra's prayers also. Um, yeah. Anyway, please continue. I don't want to.
yeah. So next is Dainya Bodhika. So Dainya Bodhika, actually, I'm sorry, I should have first defined what Dainya Bodhika is. So, I mean, a little bit clear from the name, Danya is this sense of humility or sense of being very fallen. Maharaj quotes the third verse of Shikshashtaka as an example of Danya Bodhika. And to me, actually, the fifth verse also seems Danya Bodhika. Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddho. That seems that really Danya Bodhika. Now, one did the realization of how I'm so fallen, how there's a deep sense of humility as one comes to the Nishtha platform. So this is after Nishtha platform, and which is a little surprising. And that's what the first quote here is. That at first it seems strange that some Pratnika prayers precede Danya Bodhika. Often we think, and actually I had this conception. In fact, I think I've heard this in some classes. I remember Prahlad Maharaj's classes, I heard this. Because Prahlad Maharaj begins with this conception of humility first, recognizing that, he has this asuric blood flowing through him, and then go on. I remember classes says that we should begin with humility and repentance, not repentance. We should begin with humility, and that's the first thing when we're approaching Krishna. So often one thinks that prayers begin with humility and repentance, um, but this Danya Bodhika, this awareness of one's Danya, this actually comes at a later stage. This is a gift. We cannot. Humility is not something we can. We cannot just decide to be humble. We may want to be humble. I may want humility, But it's not something I can adjust in my mind and be humble. I can um, have the behavior of a humble person, but to actually be humble, that's actually a gift. In reality, we're unable to admit our sins simply because we do not see them. And actually, Mark talks about this, how this is actually a gift. In the beginning, if we have too much awareness of our fallen condition, it will really, create more problems because we do not have that kind of shelter in Krishna, and we see our fallen condition, it will create all kinds of complexities and complexes in us. So it's actually a protection that we are not aware of how fallen we actually are. So um, I don't have much to say here, but this was realization and kind of also relief that um, uh, I don't have to worry too much about actually feeling that humility in the sense of that's not the first thing to cultivate. The place where I can put my attention on and focus on is recognizing that I do not have that desire for Krishna and praying for that. That can be my prayers when we're chanting the holy name. That can be the mood and the absorption of the. I see prayers as a constant meditation when it's conscious. It's not just in the background. Especially it comes forefront when we come in front of deities or when we chant the holy name. I can focus upon that, and from that, as one advances, that true humility will come up. So I don't know what it's actually like, but we have some of these prayers which reflect that mood that are a little advanced, especially things like Ainanda Tanuja Kankaram. And then there are so many prayers in our Vaishnava songbook, which has this mood of how fallen I am. So in Ishinasi Pajani, our humility is opposed, a coquetry, strong here. Eventually, by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees, humility ceases to be opposed, and true, unfeigned humility stirs in our hearts. Feelings of repentance, softened by hope for God's mercy, poured out in the shape of prayers that acknowledge the full depth of one's fall. The last is Lalasamai. So this is at the Bhava stage. So these prayers arise in one who has attained deep love for God and for serving Him at the level of asakti or bhava. The devotee is imbued with lalasa, an insatiable desire to serve Krishna in a particular way. Prayer suffused with such a desire is called lalasamai. Uh, So this is where I think we can come back to your question, Gautama Prabhu. The Maharaj talks about here how there is sometimes this tendency to go to Radha Kund and get initiated in one's Raganuga sadhana for achieving one's swarupa and start practicing that because the qualification for Raghunaga sadhana is lalasa, that deep lobha, desire for um, our relationship with the Lord. So it's not a a a cheap easy thing. Like even if danya is not something you can just have, it's something that one achieves true humility. Then that desire for um, that relationship with the Lord in a particular mood, in a particular fashion, in a particular service, that is uh, it comes at a asakti or bhava stage. And this Prabhupada says, like to repeat, first deserve, then desire. So the right to desire must be earned, which is very interesting. Um, because I think somebody referenced that section, how desire is concomitant to the soul. And here we say the right to desire must be earned. When we find a contradiction between the two, and Maharaj doesn't discuss about this. I just saw that quote, so I'm thinking about that. But it's, these desires are not the way I understand it. The desires are not cheap desires. These are to be able to desire that, like that. There is a certain purification that has taken place. As long as I'm still desiring within, some material enjoyment, or some material shelter or protection, and all those concerns are still manifesting and or even predominant in my heart. I may get some shadow of that, desire to serve Krishna in a particular way, in a particular association, when I hear as a pastime, or when we hear something, which is very nice. But lalasa is when that is your desire. When that becomes your desire. There is no other desire, in other words, and that is not so easy. Which is, I think, obviously, that's very special. So Maharaj, I like this line that, first we need to undergo heart surgery, restoring its integrity. Right now our heart is divided, it's split, and we need to first of all, go through some surgery to mend that, restoring its integrity and cutting out the tumor of the false ego. And we'll talk about that if we have time. What this false ego. This false ego is what creates that split, that division. And then we take a complete course of the bitter medicine of humility. This is the Dainya Bodh. And only afterwards can we take the tonic of sublime prayers by great acharyas pleading to Krishna for personal service. There may be some questions on this, which I hope somebody else can answer. Shall we move forward? Gaurav, is that? I don't know if that addresses what you're talking about.
Yes, Prabhu, it does. Thank you. Yeah, very clear. Please continue.
Okay. So I think the last 2 or 3 sections, given this category, now I'm going to talk about what this. Now we're going to focus on some prarthanika, where there is this, this condition of the split heart, and we're going to analyze what that is, or where is that coming from. So I'm sorry, I haven't done a lot of work on this. I have direct quotes from the book, where we start going into this. The main idea is that even though we want Krishna, we know we want to want Krishna, at least. We don't, we're not just simply attracted to Krishna alone. There are other things that are taking place, or taking some space in our heart. And why is that? Why is that duality there? So let me maybe read the first one. Despite having faith or desire and a clear goal, okay, why is it so difficult to give our whole heart to God from the beginning? Why do material desires continue to reign over our hearts, even though we have awakened to the truth that no measure of material pleasures, honors, or opulences can truly satisfy us? Why does duality take over us? So we all know this is material, not good for us. It's going to create pains. It's a source of misery. We don't want that. We want this, but still, the heart wants what it wants. Why is that? That's due to sense. And actually, we may want to discuss this more, because sin is often misunderstood. There's a big difference between sin and aparadh, and one can easily confuse the two, and they're very different things. So if you want, we can spend some time discussing them. I don't discuss that in this book, but he has. That's one thing I've learned, which was very, one of those revelatory light bulb moments for me. What exactly is sin? So sin is the word uses agha. Gha means which can be removed or deleted, and agha means that is indelible. So sin leaves this deep imprint called samskara, and this samskara impels us to repeat the experience. So, and we've been carrying, we've accumulated a lot of samskaras, and therefore there's this force which is pushing us. The example, what this false ego leads to is this dual problem of loneliness and death. So just like, if one is put in prison in solitary confinement, they our ego is like that. Those guilty of sins find themselves trapped in the prison of their ego, between walls that separate them from God and other people. Therefore, true human existence begins the moment we relinquish material attachments, restore the spiritual integrity of ourselves, and break free from the prison of the false ego. When the intelligence awakens and we realize our deplorable state, we start begging Krishna to free us from the bondage of sin and allow us to serve him. So think about sin as, or this prison, as something just constraining our freedom. One way to think about it is as this, self-sabotaging behaviors or patterns that we have acquired. That is what is constraining us. It's because sometimes this prison analogy can bring about the idea that God is punishing us because we did something wrong, and actually it's more of this sense of even pious things can imprison us. They can also leave us some scar, and we want to repeat those things. So anything which is creating this dualism or duality in us, or duality of what? Ichcha and dvesha, likes and dislikes, that binds us, and that bondage is or this duality of ichcha and dvesha is that's creating, that is this ego, this false ego. I mean, it's okay. False ego is not defined by that, but we can think about this false ego as that imprisonment, or those ichcha and dvesha are the ones which are binding us. The duality is what's binding us. And I think this last line, when our intelligence awakens, that one is important. It's awakening of intelligence. And we realize the deplorable state, we start begging Krishna to free us from the bondage of sin and allow us to serve him. So that is this Samprarthnika prayer mood. There is this, I think I forgot what the Sanskrit for this awakening of intelligence is. Okay, I have to look it up. But that is a key thing, that awakening of intelligence. So that prison, it creates these two problems of loneliness and death. So if in a prison cell, there's a death, and then there is, you're separated from others. There's loneliness. And both of these are basically a clash between our spiritual nature and our material identification. So that's the spirit soul. It is, Sat, Chit, Ananda. There is opposed to the principle of Sat, because actually, okay, I have it here. When we identify with certain likes and dislikes, those cannot go on forever. So therefore, there has to be some death. So they are temporary. So we are experiencing this temporariness, which is opposed to our nature of eternality. And so that's one big problem, the problem of death. And then the problem of loneliness, because our natural condition is that of loving. And because of this prison house, we are separated. We're separated from God, and we are separated from others. The last paragraph, the fourth bullet point here, I think we should read this. It's very, I find it very relevant when we have problems in our relationships and, with other devotees. I found this paragraph really helpful. The false ego builds walls around itself to keep out God and feel like an independent supreme ruler. 3.29.9. Somebody wants to look up. It's an interesting verse which doesn't exactly say this, but it talks about the separatistness, which Maharaj is referencing to here. So this turns us into individualists who separate our interests from those of God. The same walls also separate us from other people, and we face this block every time we try to enter deep relationships. So I think this is when we're trying to enter into deep relationship with somebody. This is what causes the problem, and this is the fundamental problem. If one thing is a communication problem, or there is this problem or that problem, I mean, we all know it's an ego problem, but what exactly is that ego problem, and how do we overcome this? I think this is where the key is. Our efforts crash against the wall of pride and arrogance, which deprives us of the real love and closeness that we yearn for. Imprisoned in ourselves, we don't know we are dying of desolation and loneliness. Inherently, we long to give ourselves and forget ourselves in love, but because we have separated ourselves from God, we have lost the ability to understand others, love others, associate with others, and serve others. In this state of total existential alienation, one constantly fears. I won't say anything more on this. Just resonates very strongly.
This is very deep, actually.
Yeah.
Very deep.
So how do we get out of it? What's the solution? The solution is, or it begins with the Sharanagati, surrender. Now, this is what's different in bhakti. Impersonalism is also a way to trying to solve this problem. These are the fundamental problem, death and loneliness. Impersonalism, it's an attempt to solve the existential problem. So it tries to solve the problem of death, and to some degree it does, but it does not solve the problem of loneliness. So it avoids submission of the ego to a personal God. So to some degree, it can solve the problem of death, but not exactly of loneliness. So these two can only be solved by the path of bhakti, which begins with Sharanagati. And this is also a very important thing. Actually, I don't have it on this slide. Okay, we're not able to go to everything. But Sharanagati is actually not bhakti. Sharanagati is the gateway to bhakti. So bhakti begins with Sharanagati. And then, so yeah, actually, let's say that real bhakti comes after our unreserved surrender to the will of God, which is the gateway out of the prison of the material ego into the realm of love and freedom. However, so we need Sharanagati, but to overcome false ego. However, at the same time, this false ego is such a powerful and unrelenting obstacle that it does not allow us to pass through the doorway. So one can if you let's see that there is a kind of a chicken and egg problem. To overcome false ego, I need Sharanagati. But because of the false ego, that the false ego comes in the way of surrender. I do not want to bow down or surrender to the will of God. So the last paragraph resolves that. It is difficult for a proud person to turn to God. And many of us may know there's a direct quote in Bible to that effect. It's easier for, I think, a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a proud person to pass through the gates of heaven or something like that. If a false ego is too big, we cannot pass through the doorway of Sharanagati. So in some South Indian temples, the entrance doors are made exceptionally low, so that pilgrims must bend to the ground to enter. An upright, proud person cannot go in. Likewise, Krishna generously sends adversities into our lives to help us feel helpless, shake off our excess arrogance, and earnestly pray to Him. It is this kind of prayer that ushers us through the low door frame of Sharanagati, leading to a realm of genuine spiritual emotions where we meet Krishna. So, I don't think I have to say anything else here. And this is where the devotee feels grateful for the difficulties, because difficulties actually unblock his access to Krishna. Otherwise, it's so difficult to actually go down. But when difficulties are there, it's so much easier. It's so natural to go down to Krishna, and that really actually solves the problem, or actually solves the root of the problem.
Yeah, this is brilliant, Prabhu. I was just reminded of when you mentioned about South Indian temples having doors that are low, and then devotees have to bend down before they actually see the Lord. So I was reminded of this pastime of Lord Ram meeting Shabari in her hut,
Mm.
and it is mentioned there that the Lord actually had to bend down in order to go inside the hut of Shabari. And
Okay.
when the Lord was actually bending down, Lakshman was thinking in his mind that this is the Supreme Lord. He never bends
Mhm.
down for anyone.
Mm.
He is bending down for someone, some old person, you know. But the
Yeah.
Lord actually, just like how a devotee bends down for the Lord also actually bends down for his pure devotee. It just reminded me. Sorry.
Nice. Nice. I think we're towards the end and we're out of time. The last slide is on Srimad Bhagavatam to the rescue, which is mainly, I think Marge is, so all of this is actually only from the introduction. I've not really begun with the book here. This is all, preparing the stage to giving us the context and what Queen Kunti's prayers are about and entering into this. And then this last one is about, okay, so if we read the Sharanagati, and we're going to start with Bhagavatam. So what's happening in especially in this first canto of Bhagavatam where Queen Kunti prayers are, and we see that the majority of the first canto of Bhagavatam. So first canto of Bhagavatam is explaining the methodology for comprehending it. As Adhikar Tattva, how to understand Bhagavatam, who can understand Bhagavatam, how should we approach Bhagavatam. And as we know, most of the first canto is dedicated to discussing Parishut Maharaj. What 13 chapters or so? Think almost 13 chapters discussing about Parikshit Maharaj. So, it, why is that so? So Maharaj discusses some multiple reasons for that. But the main thing is that to for this adhikara for understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, or to uh, Bhagavatam is where we can connect with Krishna. This is where Krishna resides, and for us to bring about that transformation, that internal transformation, we need to develop an attachment to Bhagavatam. So let me read this from the second bullet point. This quote: if a person engages in the practice of devotional service without being attached to it, then even if he does that for a long time, he will not be able to attain love of God. Sadhu naoghar anasangar alabhya suchiradapi. Suchirad. Even for a long time, if he does it, alabhya, no benefit. Anasangar, if it doesn't have attachment. So this attachment to Bhagavatam is needed. Um, and if we do not have this attachment, then we can read Bhagavatam as a sadhana. And by that sadhana of reading Bhagavatam, it purifies our heart and develops that attachment. So why is Sutta Goswami paying so much attention to Parikshit Maharaj in the first canto? Realizing the greatness of Parikshit Maharaj as the first hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, who in his last days of life fervently yearned to hear about Krishna, allows us to better appreciate the scripture and realize how it can completely free us mortals from the fear of death. So it's all about developing that attraction, and eventually we want to develop that attachment to Bhagavatam. And with that, I think Maya is setting this mood for entering into Queen Kunti's prayers. He actually starts discussing um, the pastime. So we're out of time. I'll just add one thing which I found very, very helpful in studying Srimad Bhagavatam that Maharaj does in the first couple of chapters and in general for studying Bhagavatam. In the first couple of chapters, he actually encourages us to identify with Ashwatthama, which is very interesting. Ashwatthama is this before um, I apologize if somebody is not aware of the backline story here, but he as after the battle of Kurukshetra, he just goes and mercilessly kills the five sons of Pandavas and presents them to Duryodhana as if they were Pandavas, and even Duryodhana criticizes him. and he's still very unashamed, and he goes on and fires this Brahmastra to kill Parishit Maharaj and the Pandavas, and how Krishna protects them. But Ashwatthama is like this very stubborn person who is so convinced of his righteousness that he's in the right. He's feeling all the wrongs that Pandavas have done to in the war, and he feels that he has been wronged so much, how his father has been killed by that deceit, and how Duryodhan was unfairly harmed, and he's seeing all those things, and he really feels that he's in the right, and even if Duryodhana is saying no, and Kripacharya and others are telling him, let's not do this, his proposals for doing some unfair things, they are kind of shocked by his proposals, but he is just convinced of his, of what he wants to do. And Maharaj talks about, there is this difference between determination and stubbornness, and it may look very similar. We may be convinced that we are right, and we may feel like this is my determination against all odds. I am going this, but that could be stubbornness. And how do we identify those differences? So the study of Bhagavatam, there are these different personalities. So we talked about how prayers are so important, but the storylines, the different personalities that are explained through Bhagavatam, the the idea is to try and see those personalities in ourselves. There's an Ashwatthama in ourselves, which sometimes um, impels us to act in certain fashions. And if we connect with Bhagavatam, and we really can connect with those personalities and see how they are in me, um, then I can recognize, oh, this is the Ashwatthama who's speaking here. I should be careful. What is this saying? So being able to identify these different voices that are within me, because that's what these personalities are. There's different cosmic forces which are embodied by the different personalities, and they also are within us. And then that's something I found really fascinating, to try and see the Ashwatthama within us, and to see how these to read Bhagavatam like that. That's all I have. Any questions? I'm sorry, going a little bit over time.
This was amazing, Prabhu. Actually, every slide actually was so deep that
Oh,
yeah.
that's because it's from the book. It's cut and paste from the book.
No, I mean it. No, it'll take a lot of contemplation and reflection on each slide actually to properly digest. It's really deep, as I said. So thank you so much for. And I'm really amazed that this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the book goes.
Exactly.
So yeah, it is very nice. And yeah, for me, so many points stood out. One thing being that, the Samprarthanatmika, Dainya Bodhika, and Lalsamai,
Mhm.
like how those three tie in with Sambandha Abhideya and Prayojan as well. And just in the beginning stages, Samprarthanatmika, just to identify that, my desires, where are they directed? They might be directed in both ways, but then we try to, as much as possible, want to desire Krishna. And yeah, and about Lal Samai also, I've heard in some class like Tulsi Aarti that we do,
Mhm.
that is Lal Samai. We
Yeah,
say Ei Nivedana Dharo Sakhir
yeah,
Anukta Karo. We are
yeah, exactly.
asking for a specific service.
Yeah,
So, which is an exalted prayer, as you mentioned.
yeah.
It's like if somebody who is not yet advanced to that level and is praying for that kind, desiring that kind of a thing, it's like a child, like Prithu coming and asking me, Papa, get me an aircraft. I want to fly it. Something like that. So
So,
it,
so then the question for you, why are we doing these prayers in the morning every day?
yeah, I guess one way to think about it is,
Mhm.
you know, we are accepting that. So, accepting that we are not yet at that level, but we want to be at that level. In that sense, we are praying like that. That is one thing. And another thing that I think what precedes those prayers actually is also very important. what precedes those prayers is samsara dava nalalid haloka, right? We are recognizing the fire of material existence. We are recognizing the importance of our guru in life, and then we are praying to Lord Narsimhadev, right, to protect our faith and to deepen our faith, and then this comes. So in that sense, it's like a full full circle in one sense. But yeah, in terms of specifically why we pray like that in the morning program, and this is a prayer for everyone, it's not just
Yeah.
yeah, I don't exactly have an answer for it, but at least it gives us a glimpse into what aspirations we are aspiring for, at
Yeah,
least.
and I feel like we should be like, investing ourselves also in those prayers. It's not that I
Yeah.
should think about them as, okay, these are beyond me. I cannot just do them mechanically.
True.
I don't think that's the recommendation either. Um, so I'm not sure. I think when Maharaj is saying these are beyond us, I think maybe what he's trying to say is that do not imagine that this is where you are unless you are there.
Yeah.
It's I think to recite those prayers in the morning when you wake up, that's actually creating a very powerful samskara.
Yeah.
The whole mood of Mangal Aarti, it's a very intimate mood, and I think that intimate mood early in the morning is very very helpful for our cultivation of our devotion. Um, uh, the the thing he was cautioning against is to not artificially imagine that that is the condition of my heart
Hmm.
already. That's
Hmm.
a more of a samskara I'm trying to cultivate and create. I want my condition to be. I should not be afraid of that condition of the heart. I should want that. I should be eager for that.
Hmm.
Um, um, but that's not a cheap desire. It may be a small part. Maybe a small part of my heart has that desire, and I want to strengthen that. I want to fan that. I want it to become the blazing, desire of my heart.
Right.
Um, at the same time, I realize it's not, and and in that way, it can actually strengthen my samprarthnika mood. When will I have? When will this become my sole desire?
True. True. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That
I don't
is.
know, Gorkhan, what do you think, or anybody else wants to say?
I'll let others speak if they have any thoughts.
Yeah, Manan Prabhu, thank you for this wonderful class. This was so amazing. I recall our days in Seattle, and we have some catch up to do. But yeah, it's very nice to hear that you have been doing so well, and hearing from you is really blissful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Manan Prabhu.
Hare
Uh,
Krishna. Thing.
yeah, it's the one that you've actually highlighted just now in the, that you've
Mhm.
that slide. I was able to connect with that a lot, and I even actually saved it. I just want to meditate on that and maybe make this like as a as a prayer, a daily
Yeah.
prayer. Um, yeah, I mean, I really, some of the things, honestly, I was a little bit of distraction for me here.
Mhm.
I lost the train of thought. So I really want to go back and hear the recording for sure.
Or you
Um,
can just read the introduction. Much easier.
I see. Okay, okay.
This is all in the introduction.
Yeah, but I also liked everybody else's input and you pausing and telling other things. So I may not get that from a book. So I really liked how you presented. I mean, yeah, I see that how deep of a topic this is, and I need a dedicated time to go through it. And thank you for all these points are like super super important for our spirituality. Um, and yeah, thank you for bringing that seriousness into our uh, I don't want to say sadhana, but like our life. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity, even though I feel unqualified to talk about this thing because like so high. I also like to do this because Manan actually says that in the preface that in writing this book, he says that the main beneficiary of writing the book is me. I feel the same way.
Yeah,
Doing so,
that is,
you,
I
benefit
also
a lot.
liked, yeah, I also feel that whenever I have an opportunity to give the class, it's me who benefits the most because of the sheer effort in putting together and all that. Yes, definitely that happens. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm wondering if you have any comments on this. Why do we chant Tulsi Aarti in the morning, or what should be our mood in doing so?
So Tulsi Arti is almost like it's also known as a Rasik prayer.
Mhm.
It's actually a prayer in the mood of a gopi where that's all we want. Uh,
Yes.
it's a very deep prayer. Um, why we chant it is because we want to ultimately get that mood.
Hmm.
So it might take a long time, but yeah, I mean, what else can I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
And thank
Raghunath,
you,
you
Manan
over to
Prabhu, for
you.
preparing so nicely. I think after the next Bhagavatam series, you and I should speak again, like continue our series of transformations. So I think this has also been very transformational, like how to pray. Uh,
Mhm.
Brilliant, actually. And we want you to go into more chapters of the book. For me, I have the book right next to my bed, and I keep
Mhm.
reading it a lot. So I'm really relishing the book. So it'll be
Yeah.
wonderful if
I mean, if people are interested in the book, I was wondering if we can do maybe like a book club where we
yeah,
read and share our realizations on this, because this is a very deep book, and I'm sure everybody will have their their realizations. It'll be nice to hear from everyone.
okay.
I mean, if people are interested, maybe we can do a book club, or if you want, I'm happy to do this as many times as you want me to. 'Cause I definitely benefit from it.
Hmm. Okay, we'll see, Prabhu. I mean, you can put it on
Yeah,
the group and see how many people are interested.
yeah. I think if there are 3 or 4 people interested, we can do a book club, and maybe I can find some people here also who are interested.
Yeah.
And yeah, but if not, yeah, we can continue with the rest of the chapters.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Manan Prabhu. Thank you,
Yeah.
dear devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhishya kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Sorry, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, did you want to say anything else?
No, that's all. That's all. Yeah.
Like next week?
So I'm thinking we'll begin with Varahadev next week.
Okay, okay.
So yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.